She told me she was just sleeping, but she was actually in a stranger's hotel room, ignoring my calls. I've never really shared this story out loud before, at least not in its entirety. But I think sometimes the only way to start healing is to say things out loud, to give shape to the confusion and hurt that's been bouncing around in your head for weeks, months maybe. So here it goes. I'm 39, and my partner, well, ex-partner now, is also 39. We'd been dating for about 8 months when everything happened. It was one of those relationships that felt promising from the start. You know that feeling? When conversations flow effortlessly, when your quirks seem to complement each other instead of clashing, when it feels like you've finally met someone who really sees you. That was us. Or, so I thought. She had this work trip coming up in Las Vegas. She was flying out a couple of days before I was supposed to join her. The plan was that she'd get her work stuff out of the way, and then I'd fly in, and we'd spend a long weekend together. I was really looking forward to it. I even joked that Vegas wasn't really my scene. I'm more of a quiet dinner and a glass of wine type than a casino and club person, but I was excited to make memories with her. The night before I was supposed to fly out, I was at home, getting last-minute things together, and I picked up our iPad to stream something while I packed. Now, this is where the story starts to shift. That moment when your stomach drops and your world tilts just a little off-center. A notification popped up. It was a WhatsApp message. Except, it wasn't a message to me. It was a message she had sent to her best friend. And it said, and I remember this word for word because I took a screenshot. Woke up at the Cosmo. Fuck. Not good, Lowell. I'll tell you all about it when I'm back. Don't tell her best friend's wife. I don't want her to think that way about me, especially with me coming for dinner next week. I'm still very in love with me. It won't ever happen again. Too many gins and sodas. I just stared at it. My eyes went over the words again and again, like maybe, if I read them enough times, they'd rearrange themselves into something that made sense. Something innocent. But they didn't. I sat there for a while, feeling this mix of disbelief, nausea, anger, and heartbreak all crash into me at once. Eventually, I screenshotted the message and sent it to her. I didn't say much. I didn't need to. Her response came a few minutes later. She denied everything. She said nothing happened. She told me she had gone to a speakeasy at the Cosmopolitan Hotel and met a guy, an older man, she said. That she was blackout drunk and didn't remember anything. That whatever happened, if anything even did happen, it wasn't intentional. She kept saying, I don't remember. And I swear it didn't mean anything. And maybe in that moment, part of me still wanted to believe her. Because the alternative, that someone you trust could betray you like that, it just doesn't compute. You almost want them to lie, because the lie is easier than the truth. But that wasn't the end of it. The next morning, the morning after her supposed blackout night, I had actually tried to call her around 7:30 a.m. She didn't answer, which struck me as strange. We usually talked in the mornings, especially when we were apart. A little while later, she texted me and said, still sleeping. Something about that felt off. I called again right away. She ignored it. At the time, I brushed it off. Maybe she really was sleeping. Maybe she was hungover. But now, with everything else I'd seen and heard, it didn't sit right. It was only later that I found out she had gone up to the hotel room of a 51-year-old man that night. She didn't leave his room until 9 a.m., which means that when I called her, she was still there. She was ignoring my call while she was in another man's room. She told me she vomited in his room and fell asleep on the sofa. That nothing happened. That she passed out and woke up disoriented and embarrassed. That it was all just a big misunderstanding. But by that point, I couldn't believe her. Not anymore. I asked her, if nothing happened, why did you send that message to your best friend? The one saying you woke up at the Cosmo, not good. Why did you tell her not to tell her own wife? Why did you say you were still very in love with me and that it wouldn't happen again? She didn't have answers, or rather, she had too many of them. She said she deleted the WhatsApp message because it didn't make sense, that she didn't want me to see it and misunderstand, that she saved the screenshot of what she had written because she wanted to remember what she said, that it wasn't a big deal. But who deletes a message they just sent because it didn't make sense, then saves a screenshot of it in their iPhotos? Who hides things from people they trust if there's really nothing to hide? That's when it hit me. I wasn't being paranoid. I was being played. People talk a lot about the moment trust is broken, but they rarely talk about what happens after. The slow unraveling, the rewinding of every conversation you've ever had, trying to find the signs you missed. The things that seemed small at the time, but now feel glaring. The way they looked away when you asked a question. The slight pause before answering. The overly casual tone that now feels performative. It's like your entire relationship becomes a crime scene. You start investigating moments you once cherished, now wondering if they were real or just well-rehearsed. And the worst part? The self-doubt. The way you start questioning your own instincts, your own memories, your own sanity. Because if she could lie so easily, what else might she have lied about? What else didn't I see? I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the evidence was right there. Not just the message, not just the lies, but the pattern, the timing, the contradictions. We had only been together 8 months, and already she had gone up to a stranger's hotel room in Vegas, 2 days before I was flying out to see her. She kept saying, I didn't cheat. Nothing happened. And maybe, technically, she thinks that's true, but emotionally, morally, trust-wise, she crossed every line. I felt humiliated, betrayed. I remember sitting in silence, staring at the ceiling for what felt like hours, trying to figure out what to do next. Should I confront her again? Should I give her another chance? Was I being unreasonable? Was I overreacting? But then I kept coming back to one truth I couldn't ignore. I saw what I saw. I read what she wrote. I felt what I felt. And my feelings were valid. It wasn't just about the potential physical betrayal. It was the secrecy, the deception. The fact that I was flying across the country to be with someone who had just spent the night in another man's room and thought she could hide it from me. That's not love. That's manipulation. Eventually, I ended things. It wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, hollow, like closing the door to a house you used to live in, one that had once felt like home, but now just echoed with everything that went wrong. I wish I could say I walked away and never looked back. But that's not how heartbreak works. Some days I missed her. Some nights I reread old messages, wondering where things changed. I cried. I raged. I blamed myself. I blamed her. I went through it all. But slowly, painfully, slowly, I started coming back to myself. I started remembering who I was before all of this. The version of me who trusted her gut, who didn't accept scraps and call it a feast, who knew that love should never come at the cost of your peace. And that's why I'm sharing this. Not because I've fully healed, not because I have all the answers, but because maybe someone out there needs to hear it. If you're questioning what you saw, what you felt, what your instincts are screaming at you, listen. If someone shows you who they are, believe them. And if you find yourself in a relationship where you're constantly justifying, constantly doubting, constantly giving chances, take a step back and ask yourself, is this love Or is this survival? Because you deserve more than secrecy and half-truths. You deserve honesty. You deserve someone who chooses you, even when no one's watching, especially when no one's watching.